They're calling it the SaaS Apocalypse or the SaaS Apocalypse. But software stocks are getting absolutely hammered in 2026. I've been investing in the market almost 3 decades, and one thing I've seen over and over again is the market will latch onto an idea, a narrative, and basically just sell everything related to it. So if they get afraid about something, you just knee jerk and sell the entire sector. In other words, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which you don't want to do. Now, as an individual investor and a stock picker, this creates tremendous opportunity for us. Now, you'll notice a big range of performance here. CrowdStrike down 20%, whereas Monday.com is down almost 80% from highs. And if you look closely here, you'll see some patterns. Now, a lot of people like to give you opinions on the internet about what's going to happen with software. The reality is that nobody knows for sure. But one thing I can tell you is that most people that are telling you their opinion definitely don't know anything at all. The vast majority that are giving you opinions have not worked in software, and that includes Wall Street analysts. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily know everything because I just told you that nobody knows, but I did work in the industry for 10 years, and I think I can provide you a unique perspective of what the opportunities are within software. Now, if you're on YouTube, you're probably a visual learner, and I think this infographic will help you a lot. So the sector-wide performance, the IGV, is down about 25%. And you can see on the top right here, resilience in cybersecurity. CrowdStrike down 20%, Palo Alto down around 30% now after recent earnings. Now you can see Palo Alto dropped from $223 a share all the way down here, below $150 a share. It bottomed out around 147, trading at $151 right now. So you can see here below the S3 Fibonacci, and we talk a lot about not chasing air pockets. This is another great example. But I like this stock even $165 or less DCA, and right now you can get it for 150 bucks. My 12-month price target is 225. Analysts range anywhere from 200 to 275. Remember, this isn't a hyper growth stock. This is a growth stock. The earnings were good overall, about 15% growth, beat by $10 million. Also beat on non-GAAP EPS by 9 cents. So what's the problem? Why is the stock down? Well, taking a Discord where I always update you can see here on 217, I updated the gang. While its revenue guidance was raised and easily surpassed estimates, its earnings per share guidance fell short. And I won't read the numbers you can see on your screen, but this is exactly why the stock sold off. And really it's because of software fears in general. The sentiment's bad, and so it's just like dumping fuel on the fire. But I said here, basically analysts couldn't figure out the M&A impact and how that would impact EPS. Earnings were fire otherwise. It's crazy when you think about how much power these analysts have with their projections. Now, of course, the analysts are going to say, well, it's leadership's fault. They didn't tell us the proper guidance. But if you've been around the block, you know that mergers and acquisitions are complicated. And Palo Alto's doing a couple big mergers, and it's not surprising these numbers didn't match or meet expectations from analysts. But I said, you don't believe me? You think I'm full of it? Here's what Grok says. And basically, it says that it's spot on. Overall, the quarter was good. Everything is good. It's just that the analysts didn't know how to predict the M&A. But Palo Alto is buying CyberArk, and that's going to be really identity security. And then Koi. This is a young startup founded in 2024. Think endpoint security for AI agents. This is going to be important as we go through the video. So back to this, again, you can see trends. Cybersecurity companies are going to be resilient, as they should be. They're the easiest to identify that, hey, AI agents don't replace cybersecurity. In fact, they shouldn't be down 20 to 25%. We'll talk about it in a minute. Now, this wheel goes all the way around to almost 80% down on Monday.com. So severe impact on Atlassian team and Monday.com down 75, 80%. So these are productivity and collaboration tools, and these are the most drastic ones when you think of the sector. What's interesting, if you look in the middle, you see Salesforce, Workday, and ServiceNow. And you have a wide variety here. So this is just 16 stocks to give you samples from each segment within the sector, because Intuit, of course, is very different than S&P Global. Adobe is very different than DocuSign, and so on. But these 16 companies give you a great snapshot and help with what we're about to do next. So when you look at this here, it's about stickiness. High resilience is going to be infrastructure and security. That medium resilience is Salesforce, SAP, like an ERP system, a backbone for Agentic AI. And then on the right side, the red, this is the danger zone, also where the most risk reward could potentially be too if they recover. So that's going to be your workflow and collaboration tools. So we want to think about mission critical enterprise software focused on B2B and scalable. We also want to think about the difference of SaaS and cloud. Some people might look at the infographic and say, well, why isn't, for example, Snowflake on there or MongoDB? Great question. They're consumption based, not software as a service. So a quick executive summary here. We got 25% down in the sector, software, IGV. The driver, it's about value migration. And the opportunity, we're going to talk about 3 different pillars. So when you think about what's driving the narrative for this sell-off, this infrastructure super cycle is a big part of it. So last year, end of 2025, we ended up with somewhere between $350 billion to $400 billion in AI infrastructure. Most of that being those Magnificent Seven names. Now, the estimate for 2026 is $700 billion. So nearly doubling. And when you look at the AI application revenue for 2025, the estimates are all over the place, but nothing over like $36 billion. So below $40 billion. Now, of course, in 2026, that number is going to be higher. But even if you just take that $700 billion and make it $400 billion, you're talking about $40 billion to $400 billion. There's a huge disconnect here. So essentially what's going to happen here is a pricing pivot. Traditional software as a service. That's where you're paying per seat. You're paying a license fee for every head each month. And this is why these were so great, because they were scalable. You could sell it to thousands of people within an organization and they paid every year to get that recurring revenue. So when you look at like 2023, the pricing model, and you compare it to 2025, and this is, of course, going to get worse as time goes on. That pure subscription seat basis is very vulnerable to AI-driven headcount reduction. Now, another thing most people don't talk about, but just some food for thought here, a lot of people think that AI is going to replace a lot of jobs or eliminate a lot of jobs. And if that happens, that can also kind of indirectly impact that license revenue because it generally goes by headcount. So consumption-based, it's where it's at. And this is why companies like Snowflake and MongoDB we're ahead of the curve. You know, MongoDB was an open source model and it's evolved over the years, but Snowflake went to consumption-based a long time ago. And there's good and bad to it, right? If the economy slows down, you got less people using it, well, then you're going to have peaks and valleys. With SaaS, you're going to have more stable revenue. That consistent revenue, which traditionally has been very good for investors because it's easy to predict what's going to happen, what's coming. Wall Street loves predictability. Wall Street hates uncertainty. And then uncertainty relates back to this sell-off in general. You're going to see more hybrid seats, an AI meter. So you're going to see more models that are a blend of both seat-based as well as consumption. So if you look at the blue arrow here, that's going to be usage-heavy winners, Snowflake and MongoDB. The yellow is going to be those companies that are seat-heavy, not consumption-based, and they're going to be the biggest losers, at least in the short term, until they figure that out. So really, this is a 3-pillar investment strategy. The blue is the shield. Cybersecurity. The yellow in the middle, data and ontology. And then the purple is agentic AI, executing work, the backbone. You're going to need companies that manage AI agents. So pillar 1, of course, cybersecurity. AI agents will not replace cybersecurity. In fact, they'll make it more essential. It's silly because cybersecurity stocks should be going higher. AI agents are going to handle those routine tasks. The problem is they lack human insight. So they really can't make those complex decisions or have responsibility. But attackers, hackers, they're going to use AI plus their brain. And it's easier for them to outsmart and really expand that attack surface. So right now, the global cybersecurity market, depending on who you ask, right, between 500, maybe $600 billion. And this is headed to $1 trillion plus by 2031. So in 5 years, this is going to double. We're talking about 20% compound annual growth. And this dip in 2026 has created opportunity for some of these names if you don't own them. So CrowdStrike is my favorite. Endpoint security has been its focus. It's evolved over the years. Palo Alto, we just talked about. The jack of all trades and ace of none. They do a lot of things really well. Zscaler. In fact, Wedbush is calling AI a powerful tailwind that boosts these resilient leaders. So these really are defensive stocks. They should be, but they're not being treated that way. Other names in cybersecurity that I like, you can look at, of course, Rubrik, Cloudflare, the ticker is NET, and then Datadog. Now, pillar 2, you're going to have data and ontology. So, of course, Palantir, Snowflake. AI agents aren't going to replace the data and the ontology. And you've probably heard the term before, garbage in, garbage out. You have to have good data. You have to have structured data. These companies help with that. They also help connect enterprise data, proprietary data to these LLMs and these language models. They also allow agentic AI to work better, faster, more efficient. And again, if you think of AI agents, the demand for data explodes. These are beneficiaries. They should not be selling off. Now, it's a reset across the whole sector, and that's how it works. So you say, well, if it's normally valued like this, we're going to sell everything down 20%, figure it out later. And these stocks can certainly go lower because they're not cheap. You know, Palantir is something we bought at $10 in our Discord, and it's still, $130, $140. It was $200. Snowflake is much more attractive valuation wise, but Palantir has a lot more growth and it's healthier overall, especially when you look at some of the metrics on the finance side and just how much they've improved profitability. Recently just moved to Miami, Florida, by the way. But the enterprise data market hits $140 billion this year, and that's a conservative number. It's going to surge to $350 billion in the next 7 years. So this is closer to 12 to 15% compound annual growth rate. But AI rollouts are going to require strong foundations, and these companies help enterprises achieve that. If you don't own Palantir and Snowflake, these are companies you should at least explore. Another one is MongoDB, and this is one that we bought, and it went lower. We bought some more, and it went lower, and then all of a sudden, boom, 70% year-to-date turnaround in 2025. And people started figuring out, hey, there is no AI strategy without a data strategy. MongoDB helps us accomplish that. And then that third pillar is going to be the agentic backbones. So systems of action, an agentic brain that can orchestrate all of the actions between the data and the actions back to that central repository or that nervous system. Agentic AI is not going to replace ServiceNow and Salesforce. Now, it can replace certain things, but you're still going to need an agentic brain. I look at ServiceNow and Salesforce as these agentic brains. They make these platforms more valuable than ever. And you're seeing these acquisitions from like ServiceNow to get more into identity and helping, with the cybersecurity end of agentic AI. That's exactly what they need to do to be relevant in 3-4 years. But AI agents need robust enterprise backbones, and that's exactly what these companies do. It's going to help orchestrate all this, the workflows, integrate the data securely, govern actions, deliver outcomes to IT and other departments. Raw models can't do this alone, and you can't vibe code this stuff. I don't know why people think you can. You can't. So ServiceNow, you got Agent Fabric. Salesforce, you've got Agent Force. These are going to turn these autonomous agents into production digital workhorses, drive higher usage, premium tiers, and really going to have explosive add-on revenue. It's just a matter of when that happens. There is some lag right now. I'll show you a slide on that as well. So the Titan Clash, of course, you got ServiceNow. That's very workflow centric. Salesforce, it's going to be CRM, customer relationship management, sales and marketing. That's the primary focus. Now, when Salesforce stock was over $300, I told you on multiple chart days, I thought it was too expensive. This thing was $365 a share. It's not worth $300. Wait for it to pull back. I was thinking maybe $200, $225. Of course, it always goes lower than you think it will, especially when you have a SaaS Apocalypse, and it's $185 a share. Now, this S3 Fibonacci is a little bit lower, $170.59. I think it's attractive right here at 185. Of course, it's not hyper growth again. It does have a small dividend. It's kind of an up and coming DGIF stock. You have to have conviction that Salesforce is going to be around. I think Mark Benioff and team, I think they know what they're doing. I think Agent Force will be around. It's going to be one of those AI backbones that's going to enable agentic AI and probably benefit. It's just going to take time, and there's lag, and the market hates uncertainty. And the market wants results right now, and it's not getting results right now. No pun intended, but here's ServiceNow. And you can see this stock was almost $240 a share, fell off a complete cliff like a lot of these, down 50% from highs, got below $100 a share, just under $100 a share. Now it's trading at $107 a share. And this S3 is down here at $87.70. So a lot of people are saying, I'll wait for $90. They haven't gotten it yet. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Looks like buyers are coming in. I think this is attractive, lower the better, but around $100, I don't think you can go wrong with ServiceNow as a long-term investment. But what's going to happen, guys, is you're going to see this rule of 40 that we always talk about for software SaaS. And that new metric is going to be the rule of AI. And you can see the equation on your screen. But those seats that we talked about earlier, they basically get replaced by tokens. So when you look at the strategic outlook and the forecast, right now, infrastructure, CapEx deployment, you're going to have a consumption lag. We're in this right now. In the future, you're going to see that hockey stick, and you're going to see revenue realization. And you're starting to see it already, but it does take time. So right now, you want to buy the infrastructure. We've been telling you that, right? The phase one infrastructure, the NVIDIAs and the Broadcoms, the Astera Labs, you want to own those. And if you're buying software stocks, you have to be careful. I always tell people, if you don't really understand this sector very well, consider it spec or just avoid it at all. But I think if you buy some of this, especially at some of these prices, and you think of them as spec stocks, small positions, you're managing your risk very well. And there's some great upside in some of these companies. I think big tech is going to continue to acquire some of these. And if we do have a bigger sell-off, you're going to see more and more consolidation. You're going to see M&A. But that final shift, that transition from seats to tokens, it's a fundamental shift in the global economy, how software works. Software is no longer a tool for humans to work, but it's the autonomous workforce itself. So in addition to this content, guys, I have a deep dive write-up. You can go read that right now on Patreon. The link is below in the comments. So I'm going to pin a comment, go ahead and click that link, and you can go read it. That's going to go a lot deeper into these topics and give you a very strong understanding of where software is at and where it's headed. I appreciate your time and attention. If this video is helpful, drop me a like, drop me a comment. If you're new here, subscribe. I appreciate you. We'll see you.